I love the Seder. I appreciate the traditions of the night. I value and look forward to its themes: redemption, geula, the arc of Jewish history, the idea that we function as a family unit even when it's difficult, the idea that being a free person means we can be generous and giving and open our homes, and mostly the idea that even when things are hard on a personal level, a familial level, a national level, we are and we remain a hopeful people at our core. We are matchil b'gnut u'mesayim b'shvach. We start with our hard times, whether the physical hardship of being slaves or the spiritual journey of Abraham, from idol worship to becoming close to Hashem. It's all the same story. And whether it's the stories or the lamdas or the academic parts, together with the food and the songs, the experiential part of the night is an intergenerational conversation about Jewish history and how we can develop and progress from the pain and suffering to the feeling of being free and more enlightened. It's about experiencing hope and reminding ourselves that even when it's hard, there is always a new way of looking at it that will make room for hope. And this reminder is also for the people around our table who may be in more need of that message. We are telling them that we were all at a low point once. We all started out like this, together as the Jewish people. But, like the billboard says, hope is not a strategy. There is one aspect of the Seder that sheds light on how we might be a part of this process when things are hard by reminding us that sometimes, so often, it's the little things that can make all the difference. After we finish the Maggid section, we get to the statement of Rabban Gamliel, who says that we need to say the explanation for Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. What does Pesach mean? We always say that it means to pass over, which becomes the English name of this Chag. Pesach al Shema, al Shem Shepasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Batei Avoteinu b'Mitzrayim. Why do we eat and partake in the Karban Pesach? Because Hashem passed over the homes in Egypt. It's the night of Makat Bechorot when we put the blood on the mashkov. We put the blood of the Korban Pesach on our homes and Hashem passes over. We survive and the other homes have calamity. Firstborn Egyptian children perish. Targum Onkelos translates the word pasach, to act compassionately, ve'echos aleichem, upaschei aleichem. According to Onkelos, it means that Hashem acts with compassion towards the Jewish homes. This national experience of Hashem's compassion can serve as a model for us to exercise compassion for those who need our kindness. And throughout the Seder night, we have symbols of demonstrating kindness to those in need. For example, halach ma'anya. Rav Kook explains that this act of inviting others into our homes, obviously when it's too late, is for us to be open, to be compassionate. Free people are able to do this. Rav Kook says there's another way to understand the word Pasach. If you go back to the story of Eliyahu on Har HaKarmel, Eliyahu says to the Jewish people, "For how long will you be poschim al shtei haseifim? How long will you straddle the fence?" He uses the same word Pasach to say you have to choose a side. You need to make a decision. The Jewish people were faithful to Hashem, but also to the Nevi'ei Baal. You can't be on both sides, Eliyahu says. You have to choose which side you will dwell in. Poseach means to dance around, and Eliyahu Hanavi says, how long will you keep jumping from side to side, trying to inhabit both? Rav Kook explains that the idea is for us to develop our center of gravity, so we stop being poschim. This is a necessary prerequisite before Hashem will be poseach, protecting our homes and families. If we do our part, then Hashem will do his. In the former head of the Mossad, Yossi Cohen's book, he talks about leaning into who he is and his religious upbringing, and how he has carried that into his work. He says to know who you are and use that is what helped him in his missions and life's work. What does it mean to do our part? It's interesting that we were commanded, after all the years of slavery, to bring the Karban Pesach before leaving Egypt. Why this mitzvah? Why now? On the one hand, we were taken out by Hashem, and it really was by the grace of God. We had nothing to do with it. On the other hand, we were commanded to partake of the Korban Pesach immediately before leaving. Rashi brings the midrash that asks, why were we commanded with mitzvot at all during this time? Let them get out of Mitzrayim and then be commanded with mitzvot at Matan Torah. Why now? Rashi says we weren't involved in mitzvot, so we weren't yet worthy of redemption. But this raises a further question. We are told, on one hand, we didn't change our names, our languages, or our clothes. Surely we were worthy on some level. Rashi explains the Midrash's meaning that Hashem wanted us to partake in the process of the Geula. V'at arum ve'aryah means that we were naked of mitzvot. And by doing the mitzvah of Dam Pesach, we became at least a little bit worthy of redemption during this critical time. The Jewish people weren't free yet and celebrated redemption by doing the Korban Pesach. Agam Berger decided in the tunnels of Gaza to do the same. She described how she created a Seder in the most unfree of circumstances, and how she made decorations from scraps of paper, and how her friend Liri Albag had surprised her with a makeshift Haggadah. They ate cornflour pita, their own bread of affliction, and made a decision that, to quote her, "I learned, as my forebears did, that imprisonment can't overwhelm the inner spiritual life." She said that in Hebrew. There are times in history when we can just sort of lay back and watch history unfold, but there are other times when we must take decisive stands and make clear decisions. After all, the Midrash says on the pasuk at the beginning of Parshas Beshalach, "Chamushim alu," only 1/5 of the people, just 20% of Am Yisrael actually left Mitzrayim. Not everyone went out. Today we live in a time when we must take stands, even when uncomfortable, and we must act even when we are used to being more passive about public issues. And in our personal lives, sometimes there are small decisions we can make that make a world of difference, that can bring about healthier living, more authentic relationships, better habits, and mostly living in the presence of God. The hope that we can experience on Seder night is important to us, and may we merit to experience it this year. I wish each of you a Chag Kasher V'Sameach.